Unsolved Mysteries. The Borden case is undoubtedly without parallel in the criminal annals of America. It is perhaps the most puzzling murder which has occurred anywhere in the whole world. The perpetrator of this double murder was saved from the gallows by a most extraordinary chain of circumstances. Circumstances which perhaps would not recur in 1,000 years. The Borden place in Fall River, Massachusetts, was a house of silences. A house of moody, brooding silences brought about by pent-up hatreds, petty jealousies, niggardly dealings in money matters, and two daughters who hated their stepmother. A stepmother who hated with equal intensity her two stepdaughters. Even from the outside, the Borden house, where it stood on South Main Street, had about it an air of ineffable doom. The atmosphere of a place accursed. It is exactly 30 seconds before 11 o'clock on the morning of August the 4th. Bridget, the maid, finished with her morning duties, is resting in her room on the 3rd story. Mr. Borden is lying on the couch in the living room. Emma Borden is away from home. And Lizzie Borden, is standing on the back porch.
Bridget, come here.
What's the matter, Miss Lizzie?
Come down quick. Father's dead. Somebody came in and killed him. Don't go in, Bridget. Don't go in. Get a doctor. Run across the street and get Dr. Bowen.
Is there anything wrong, Lizzie?
Oh, Mrs. Churchill, someone has killed Father. Please come over.
I'll be over right away. The doctor isn't home. I left word for him to come. Miss Lizzie, where were you when this happened?
I was out in the yard. I heard a groan. The screen door was wide open. I came in.
Lizzie, where is your father?
In the living room.
Where were you, Lizzie, when it happened?
I went to the barn to get a piece of iron.
Where is your mother?
I don't know. She had a note to go see someone who was sick. It must have been in town, but I thought I heard her come in. I don't know but what she may have been killed, too. Father must have an enemy.
What's all this, Lizzie? What's it they hear about your father?
It's Dr. Bowen, and he has Officer Allen with him.
Oh, Doctor, in the living room.
All right. Now stand back. Come on, Doctor. No need to examine him to see whether or not he's dead. Get me a sheet, somebody. How long has he been dead, Doc? About 10 minutes. Still warm. Lizzie.
Yes, Doctor.
Where were you when this happened?
I was over at the barn.
Where were you, Bridget?
In my room, upstairs.
Did you hear anything?
No.
Were you asleep?
No. I've just been lying down for a few seconds.
Now listen, nobody could have killed this man the way he's been killed without making some noise. No signs of any weapon either, officer. Let me see your hands, Bridget. That's it. Turn around. Oh, nothing there. You, Miss Lizzie. Let me see your hands.
Me?
Yes, you. Whoever killed this man must have left some traces. And you were the only two people in the house.
There's no signs of blood on Lizzie. Not even inside her bodice. I've looked.
Bridget, you go upstairs and see if Mother's come in.
Not alone, Miss Lizzie. I'm not going up those stairs alone. I'll go with you. Oh, Dr. Lizzie. Oh.
That's Mrs. Borden?
Yes. I knew something like this would happen.
What? Why?
I just did. That's all.
Alan. Yes, Doctor? Mrs. Borden's been dead anywhere from 1 hour to 2 hours. And he's been dead only a few minutes. Yes. Well, every one of you stay where you are. I'm going to search for the weapon.
But neither Officer Allen nor any other of the many members of the police force ever found the weapon. Mrs. Churchill, from her window across the driveway, saw no one enter or leave the house. Mrs. Borden, the murdered woman, weighed nearly 200 pounds, Yet no one heard a sound when the murderer felled her. Not a sound, not a cry, not a clue, but suspicions. Yes. Lizzie Borden lay in prison staring at the whitewashed ceiling, hearing again and again the same words. Different voices, but always the same words.
Where were you, Lizzie Borden, when this happened?
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 Where were you, Lizzie Borden, when this happened? Where were you, Lizzie Borden, when this happened?
The Superior Court of New Bedford on this day, June the 20th, now in session. Chief Justice Albert Mason presiding. All stand while the justice takes his seat.
Mr. Robinson, you may begin your closing appeal to the jury.
Gentlemen of the jury, you have heard the witnesses describe the sitting room in which Mr. Borden was killed. How the walls, the ceiling were splattered with blood. Now, gentlemen of the jury, almost 2 hours elapsed between the murders. At no time was Miss Lizzie Borden out of the sight of Bridget the maid or Mr. Borden before his death for a period of more than 20 minutes. How could she cleanse herself of bloodstains in that length of time? I repeat, how could she cleanse herself of bloodstains in that length of time? She could not. Now remember that according to the state, Lizzie Borden must have killed her stepmother about 9:30, got rid of the weapon, cleansed herself, and appeared before Bridget the maid before 9:45. Again, she had between 10:45 and 11 o'clock in which to kill Mr. Borden, again dispose of the weapon, and again cleanse herself of bloodstains. Impossible, gentlemen of the jury, impossible. Within 15 minutes of Mr. Borden's death, Lizzie Borden was examined by Mrs. Churchill, who stated that there were no bloodstains on Lizzie Borden's person, not even inside her bodice. I have finished. I ask that you think carefully and seriously upon the evidence presented when you return your verdict.
The district attorney may address the jury.
Gentlemen of the jury, the defense contend that Lizzie Borden did not have time to cleanse herself after killing her stepmother. Now, that is something that no one can say. The medical testimony cannot and does not specify the exact moment at which Mrs. Borden was struck down. And Lizzie Borden may have had ample time in which to rid herself of the telltale bloodstains. In regard to the killing of Mr. Borden, I admit the difficulty. I cannot answer it. You cannot answer it. But, gentlemen of the jury, Lizzie Borden was the only person who could have committed the double murder.
And so I say to you, gentlemen of the jury, as presiding judge in this case, that if the state have not proved their case, then you must find for the prisoner and return a verdict so. You may retire to consider your verdict.
While the jury retire to consider their verdict, consider the case. It is not easy to remove bloodstains. Bloodstains can be removed more or less easily from the smooth skin of the face, but from the hands, no. Remember, too, that there was no bathtub in the Borden home. Do not lose sight of the fact that no weapon was found. No burned clothes were found, and the murderer must have been literally saturated with the victim's blood. Consider, too, that at any moment Bridget, the maid, or Mr. Borden could have walked upstairs and discovered the murderer killing Mrs. Borden. The jury have been out almost an hour. It is 4:30, and they file to their places in the jury box.
Are the gentlemen of the jury agreed upon a verdict?
We are, Your Honor.
Lizzie Borden, stand up. Face the jury.
We, the jury, find the prisoner not guilty.
A careful reading without emotion or favor of the trial transcript must convince any unprejudiced person that Lizzie Borden did not commit the double murder. Since this is an unsolved mystery, any solution is necessarily a supposition based, however, upon the known facts. A possible solution will be presented after you have heard from your sponsor. On 2 occasions previous to the Borden murders, the Borden home had been robbed of jewelry and money. Stray tramps had probably perpetrated the robberies, and remember that these gentlemen of the highway leave secret markings on walls and houses informing their brothers of the road that these houses are easy to rob, or perhaps a mark that tells that the householder is kindly and that food will be forthcoming. It is the morning of the murder.
Lizzie?
Yes, Mother?
I'm going to town to visit a friend who isn't feeling well.
Now, Mother?
I'm going to my room to dress first. Have Bridget wash the windows.
Yes, Mother. Bridget? Oh, Bridget?
Yes, Miss Lizzie?
I'm going to do some ironing. Will you wash the windows?
Yes, Miss Lizzie. I've got the water and everything ready now. I'm going right outside.
Both for the irons won't be hot for quite a spell. I'll go to the barn and get the lead to make these sinkers for my fishing line.
A tramp hidden in the basement since early morning makes his way into the house. This is his opportunity for petty theft. The house is empty, he thinks. In the upper room, he comes face to face with Mrs. Borden. He silences her unuttered cry with a blow. Panic seizes him and he turns to flee. Escape is impossible. Lizzie Borden has returned from the barn, and tremblingly the murderer hides in the same room where his victim lies dead.
Here's your father, Miss Lizzie. I'm going up to my room for a few minutes.
Very well, Bridget. Oh, hello, Father.
Oh, hello, Lizzie.
Any mail for me, Father?
No, not a thing, Lizzie. I'm tired. I think I'll lie down for a bit on the sofa.
No, all right. I'm going out to the barn for a piece of iron.
The murderer, still hidden in the upper room, hears the door slam. He creeps downstairs to the living room, sees Mr. Borden on the sofa, and thinking he's asleep, tries to creep past him. Borden looks up, sees the blood-stained figure, but like Mrs. Borden, he is silenced with a blow before he can say a word. The back door creaks. Lizzie's returning. In a moment, the hue and cry will be raised. The murderer's only chance is to hide in the basement and wait for an opportune moment to escape. And so Fall River had an unsolved mystery. For the police, despite a statement that a murderer could have entered the house through the basement, didn't even look in the basement till the next day. And the murderer had, of course, made his escape in the dark of the previous night. Unsolved Mysteries. Out of deference to people who may still be living, character names in some of these unsolved mysteries have been changed. No tale from beyond the frontier of mysterious Tibet or from the depths of dark Africa is more weird than tonight's unsolved mystery, laid in California. A mystery which, for downright eeriness, rivals the imaginative writings of an Arthur Conan Doyle. The scene is a famous war correspondent's home in Hollywood, California. A group of guests, seated comfortably on the wide veranda, watch the twinkling lights of the film colony. And every so often the stabbing finger of a giant searchlight cuts the deep blue of the sky and loses itself in the unfathomable spaces beyond. A prominent motion picture director sweeps his arm over the scene as he turns from the veranda rail to face the group.
Oh, I know everything's swell in Hollywood, but sometimes I'd like to get away from it all. Go someplace to rest where no one would ask any questions and where I could be alone.
And where no one would say yes.
Yes, instead of being asked questions and telling people what to do, I'd like to ask a few questions myself.
But would you like having someone tell you what to do? You've been an important director for a long time now. Taking orders from someone else might not be so easy.
Well, I'd like to try it. Yeah, it's getting late. I guess we ought to be letting you get to bed, Bill.
Oh, don't mind me. After all, I can get up when I like. I don't have to be on the lot at dawn.
But we really ought to be going. Come on, Bob.
I'll get you a wrap.
Wait behind a minute when the others are gone, Val.
Righto.
Good night, Bill. As always, we've had a swell time.
Good night.
Good night, Bill. Good night, Val.
Sit down, Val.
Oh, why so serious, Bill?
I want to talk to you.
Yes?
Listen, old man, if you don't let up, you're going to crack. You can't go on the way you've been doing, working almost night and day, turning out super colossal. Oh, I'm not being sarcastic. Everybody knows that you're the director. But even genius must have a rest.
Yes, Bill, you're right, but
Wait. You said a few moments ago that you'd like to go somewhere where you'd do the questioning, where you'd be ordered about.
And I mean it. I wasn't just talking.
Well, I'll tell you where to go, but you must make me a promise.
Yes? I'll promise.
When I've told you, you must go. And you must go with no idea of personal profit or gain. No idea of using what you may find for picture material. Else, I don't know what might happen to you.
I promise.
Several years ago, I read a book called A Dweller on Two Planets. The man who did the physical writing claimed that one whom he called the Master stood by his shoulder and dictated the entire book. I checked into the thing and found that the author was only a young boy at the time the work was done. He would have hardly had the necessary experience to write such a book. So I investigated further.
I've read the book, written by Philos.
Yes. Well, I also saw an article printed in a prominent metropolitan daily. The writer had gone to the slopes of Mount Shasta and had discovered there the same type of people that Philos had written of in his Dweller on Two Planets.
Seems to me that I read something in the Times about strange, unaccountable lights being seen from the region of Mount Shasta.
Right. And so, all in all, and being a newspaper man and of an inquisitive turn of mind, I went there.
You did?
Yes. I got to Dunsmuir in Northern California about 10 in the morning. Soon after, began making my way towards the slopes of Mount Shasta. I had a strange feeling, a feeling of expectancy. There was a deep silence, except for the singing of birds and the sound of a waterfall. I'd been sitting on a rock. Oh, I don't know how long, when...
My son, do you seek knowledge?
What? Why, where are you?
At your side.
Oh, now I see you. What was that you said?
It is of no matter. You are a newspaper man?
Yes, I am.
But you would also seek the truth?
Well, to be quite frank, I read quite a bit about the masters of Mount Shasta, and I wanted to find out for myself.
That was known to us. I have come here to speak with you.
Yes?
Certain things will be disclosed to you, but you must not use these disclosures in your newspaper work. For the benefit of mankind, you may use them, but for profit, no. It is a testament between us?
Yes, I swear it.
We go now to the temple.
Temple? What temple?
The temple of enlightenment. It is before you.
But there is no temple. There was no temple. I can't believe my eyes. There it is, all gleaming white.
Come, my son. My son, many things cannot be explained. You would have to stay among us for many years.
But at least tell me this. Who are you, and where did you come from?
We have been here always.
But why don't other people see you?
Other people do see us, my son. The visitors, the vacationists to the mountains see us. But to each is disclosed only what he wishes to see. To the tourist looking for the barefoot hermit, I am the barefoot hermit. To him who looks for a man grown old among the mountains, that is what I am. To the seeker after truth, I am a guide, the servant of the master.
But that still doesn't tell me who you are.
Some foolish ones think that we are descendants of the lost tribes of Atlantis. We were before Atlantis was.
You mean that you're centuries old, that you never die?
Death, my son, is but an illusion. Your friends in Hollywood who cannot see you, to them, you might as well be dead.
But they know I'm not. They know I'm away on a trip.
And should you decide to forsake the world and stay with us, what then would your friends think?
They'd think, well, that I'd suffered a lapse of memory or something.
And should the years pass and still you did not return, they would then think you dead. But you would not be. You would be with us.
I see what you mean. Things are comparative, aren't they?
Yesterday, today, tomorrow, they are one in infinity. In the great scheme of things, they are not separable. Look, if you would understand more clearly, look in the pool.
In the pool?
Yes, at your feet.
Well, I'll be. My house. And Val sitting there on the veranda. He's talking to someone. But there's no one there.
He is talking to you, my son.
But I'm here.
But he believes that you are there.
Oh, I see now. Yes, I'm there. And the friends of the other evening, the night I made up my mind to come here.
But a bare moon pass.
If you can do that, let me see into the future.
No, my son.
I'm not afraid.
No, I have spoken. Come, there is much to see.
It's impossible to tell you of everything I saw and was told while I was there. Time meant nothing. What I'd left behind me in Hollywood meant nothing. I remember sitting thinking, and then looking up to find myself seated on the same rock I'd been sitting on that day the master first spoke to me.
Oh, you awoke to find yourself seated at the same spot.
Awoke? What do you mean?
Well, wasn't the whole thing a dream brought on by what you had anticipated?
That's what I thought at first. An extraordinarily vivid and realistic dream. But when I returned to the hotel, a few surprises awaited me.
Yes?
In the first place, I found that I'd been gone 90 days.
What?
The hotel people told me that I'd returned to the hotel, paid my room for 90 days, and told them I was going away for a time.
Was that when you sent me word that you wouldn't be back in town as early as you expected?
I never sent you any word.
But, Bill, you sent telegrams to Watkins, to Ruth, to Simpkins, and me.
You mean that you all received telegrams, but I didn't send them?
But that's impossible, man. Fantastic.
Perhaps. But you go to Shasta, or to Dunsmuir, and look at the telegraph company's files. You won't find any originals there. And here, let me show you something.
What?
This check. Look at it. It's the check the hotel people said that I gave them.
It looks all right to me. Your signature, all right.
Did you ever see ink as black as that?
Well, no,
Hold the check up to the light. Can you detect any signs of the scratch of a pen?
No, I admit that
That check, Val, was never taken from my checkbook. I didn't write it. It's a sample of the master's powers of materialization.
But there must be some explanation.
Yes, I think there is, and I'll try to give it to you.
In just a moment, you will hear a solution to the Mount Shasta mystery. Ladies and gentlemen, inasmuch as any solution must of necessity be supposition, liberties of time, place, and characters have been taken in this solution for which you have been waiting. Well, Bill, what about that explanation?
In the first place, do you think it's possible to think of the impossible?
Let me see if I follow you. Can I imagine the impossible? No, I don't believe I can. The very fact that I can think of something makes that something possible.
If you believe in the power of mind over matter...
Well, as far as I'm concerned, mind is all-powerful.
Now let's look at biology for an instant. Every so often, a specimen is found that is a definite link between some animal alive today and some other animal that's been extinct for centuries.
I see your drift. You mean that these people are a link between us and some long-dead people who possess powers we don't know how to use?
Yes. If you read Colonel Churchward's book on Mu, you will find logical arguments in favor of the theory that the Lemurians migrated to the North American continent.
And that some of them landed to the south and became the ancient Mayas.
Right. And the ancient Mayas certainly had something that we don't possess, as did the ancient Egyptians.
Yes, we're all too inclined to think of America as a land inhabited by nothing but warlike Indians before it was settled.
Only the other day, a skeleton was found near the La Brea pits in Los Angeles, and scientists are agreed that it's not less than 15,000 years old. So isn't it possible that descendants of these ancient peoples still live in isolated parts of the country?
And not liking our modern civilization, they simply withdraw from it?
That's it. After my experience, you can hardly blame me for believing that a strange people do live on the slopes of Mount Shasta.
Unsolved Mysteries. Out of deference to people who may still be living, character names in some of these true unsolved mysteries have been changed. I could a tale unfold whose lightest word would harrow up thy soul, freeze thy young blood, make thy two eyes like stars start from their spheres, thy knotted and combined locks to part and each particular hair to stand on end. So spoke the ghost of Hamlet's father, but the words might well have been applied to the horror of Bene Debele. The scene is the heart of darkest Africa, a tiny nameless village not far from Bene Debele. The village but a small clearing fighting off the ever-engulfing jungle. The jungle, dark, mysterious, full of fearful sounds and fuller yet of fearsome shadows. Overhead, the sky is lost beyond the locked and twisted branches of tall trees, and below, the black of night is pierced by the kill call of the lion, the sharp hysterical laugh of the hyena, the shuddering whimpering of a group of natives shivering about the campfire. three white men, their rifles across their knees, stare out into the surrounding blackness.
If you want to know what I think you fellas are batty. You've been out here too long. You've let a lot of native gossip get under your hide. Now, wait a minute, Jack. I haven't seen this
The
thing.
natives who have seen it say it's a black leopard. I've only seen its tracks, and they're enormous, bigger than any lion spoor I've ever seen. I set a trap for the brute last night. It didn't go off, and this morning I went to take a look at it. It had been set off by hand.
One of the natives probably set it off.
Do you think any one of the natives would come out here after dark with almost a dozen of their brothers lying back there mangled so that you can't tell they were ever human beings? Not on your life.
Irrespective of what it is, we've got to kill it. Or the natives will pack up and leave the village. You can't convince them that it is no Nakapa, the witch doctor.
But it's so silly. The idea that just because they expelled the witch doctor, that he should turn himself into a black leopard and come back to kill them one by one. Why, it's silly.
Maybe it is silly. But look at it from their standpoint. Old Nakapa, who's 70 if he's a day, wants to marry the village belle. Casts a spell on her. In a week, she's dead.
Jack will say that's coincidence.
Yes, because he hasn't been out here as long as we have. In any case, the villagers drive old Nakapa out of the village. He curses them and the village and tells them that he'll return in the form of a wild beast and kill them one by one.
And the next night, one of them is mauled by a black panther.
And the night after that, and after that, and after that, till 10 of them have been killed. Laugh that off, will you?
Coincidence.
Listen, I'm willing to accept 1 or 2 as coincidence, but 10, well, that's different.
Why not 10? If the brute's got a taste for human flesh, why not the whole village? If he's a man-eating panther.
There's a subtle distinction between a panther and a leopard. Leopards are not man-eaters.
And why only the men? Since even a wild animal knows that the women are easier to get.
You're jittery, that's all. What's that?
You're not jittery, are you? Well, that's probably a wild parrot.
That? A parrot? Rot.
Then you name it. Go on. You've heard it twice. Name it.
Well, I can't. I never heard anything like it.
Borden!
Yes, Nietzsche?
He come. That Nakapa. You hear him? Nakapa give witch doctor call of death.
That scream we heard was the witch doctor?
You heard what Nietzsche said.
Come on. Time we're getting away from fire.
Yes, Nietzsche.
Yes, Buona.
Well, boy, who afraid, follow me. Lie quiet by fire. No move, no speak. Only lie quiet.
Yes, Buona. May tell him, number 1.
All right, fellows, follow me. We'll get on to the trail.
Forcing their way through the dense underbrush, the 3 white men, followed closely by their gun bearers, worked their way to the animal trail. The jungle has become strangely still at the horrifying shrieks of the witch doctor, almost as though brute beasts though they were, they voiced silent disapproval of anything so brutish. The party pushes on, their general direction toward Benedebele. Suddenly, holding up his hand for silence, Frank stops. Then points to a yawning black hole in the already black jungle. A pair of gleaming eyes, a streak of glistening white below, the foam-flecked jaws of a maddened animal.
Take careful aim. You, Bill, after me, and you, Jack, take the brute if he leaps to the right.
Right, okay.
Again.
It's gone. I know I
So
hit
did
it.
I. Come on, let's hurry.
Look here. The tracks.
Come here, quick.
What is it?
We did hit it, look.
Somebody's shot took effect. Why, that shot popped out of its jaw away.
Buona!
Come on, it's at the village.
Even the beasts know there's something not quite right.
Beats me how the brute can run at all. It must be more than half dead. If it gets into the compound, we'll have no difficulty finding it.
We'll be at the compound in a moment.
Buona!
Yes, Nietzsche?
Here, Buona. Here is trying again.
My gosh, he's right. Look, headed this way.
What on earth does a half-dead animal want to come this way for? It has to cross the whole length of the compound before it can reach jungle again.
Take it easy now, fellows. We're at the end of the trail.
Bleeding pretty badly now. The spore's soaking.
All right. I'll go first. And no foolhardiness. No hasty shooting.
Frank, look. The trail leads right to your bungalow.
I know it. Stand back. I'm going first.
It went into the living room. Look out when you go through the opening.
This is the...
Jack stops dead. His eyes start from his head. The bloody paw marks cross the bare wood floor and end before a huge oak chest.
He points and stutters.
Why, it isn't here. Yes, it is. Got your 45 ready, Bill?
Yes.
Stand on the left side of the chest. You, Jack, in front. I'll open it.
On tiptoe and in silence, the three men take their places. The native boys crouch in the open doorway. Taking his 45 in his left hand, Frank slowly opens the heavy lid of the chest. A gasp of horror escapes them. Incredulously, Jack leans farther forward and stares into the chest. Sprawled like some nightmarish monster, half his jaw shot away, lies Nakapa, the witch doctor, the horror of Benedebele. Dead. In just a moment, you will hear a solution to the mystery of the horror of Benedebele. Ladies and gentlemen, inasmuch as any solution must of necessity be supposition, liberties of time, place, and character have been taken with the solution for which you have been waiting. The scene is Frank Hilton's bungalow 1 hour later. The natives have disposed of the horror, and the three white men are seated at the table while Nietzsche, the native boy, serves them something to steady their nerves.
Well, Jack, what have you to say now?
Nothing. I want to forget it.
You won't. Not as long as you live.
But it's impossible. I expect to wake up any minute and find it's all a nightmare.
Yes, and every time you think of it, you'll do the same thing.
In spite of the fact that I was here, I still don't believe it.
Oh, it's true, all right. This isn't my first experience with one of the things. No, and not Bill's either. You'll get used to it if you live here long enough.
Not me. I'll take my chances elsewhere. What would you call it?
Never mind what I call it. Science calls it lycanthropy.
Science? Does science recognize what we just saw?
Yes. Lycanthropy is, first in folklore, the liability of a person to turn into an animal, and secondly in pathology, the belief of a person that he or she is some sort of an animal.
Sort of insanity?
Yes. The idea is this, that the person who, through mental maladjustment, begins to think like an animal will, when removed from the company of human beings, actually turn into an animal.
But it's impossible. Humanly impossible. Biologically impossible.
Here, take a look at this. I've
The Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yes, I had it copied.
As a pathological state, it is characterized by the patient's belief that he has been metamorphosed into an animal and is often accompanied by craving for strange articles of food, including the flesh of human beings or corpses. But when he leaves the neighborhood of a man, real metamorphosis may be asserted.
Pleasant sort of idea, isn't it?
It's ghastly.
The common name is werewolves, but wolves are by no means the only animal. The Britannica states further. In Java, we meet with the were-tiger. In South America, the were-jaguar. In Abyssinia, generally a woman and in the form of hyena or leopard.
And this is the world in which we live.
Yes. Shakespeare expressed it admirably when he wrote, "There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamed of in our philosophy."
murder most foul, as in the best it is, but this most foul, strange and unnatural. Had William Shakespeare penned these lines about the murder in the Rue Morgue, his description could not have been more fitting. The murder in the Rue Morgue was not only strange, it was incredible, it was impossible, and yet it was. The scene is Paris. Not the Paris of the bright lights, the boulevards, the cafes, and the theaters, but that Paris of dark, narrow, crooked streets. That Paris in which murder is no stranger. That Paris where the wrong glance, the carelessly spoken word is answered by the knife thrust, and the offender is found cold and stark, staring with glassy eyes at a waning moon. 2 o'clock in the morning. Mademoiselle Rose Delacour turns into La Rue Morgue. The guttering street lamp shows her lithe of figure, pretty of face, a demoiselle of the boulevards. She stops at her apartment, number 16, and rings the bell.
Et voilà. Who is it? Rose. You are very late, Rose. I'm very tired. But Paris is not what it was. No young gentleman to buy you dinner, eh? You have guessed it the first time. No, but I am hungry. Oh, come with me into my room. The coffee is hot. The bread stale, perhaps, but not too stale. Rose, qu'est-ce que c'est? Why do you not go to the country away from all this? Me to the country? I cannot live without my Paris. The laughter, the song, the theaters, the cafés, the boulevards. Oh, no, c'est impossible. No one call upon me today. Not one single person, ma chérie, not one. Come, petite. Drink the coffee and then to sleep. Tomorrow may be brighter. You have been very good to me. I will do as you say. I will go to bed, but not to sleep. No, not to sleep.
Slowly, Rose Delacour makes her way up the creaky, rickety stairs. 5 flights of them, with the rotted, worm-eaten banister giving under her touch as she pulls herself wearily onward. Her own room at last. The heavy door groans as she opens it, closes it. The rasping of the lock as she turns the key, the dull click of the bolts, top and bottom of the door as she forces them home. The one window with its leaded panes of glass slams as she closes it and turns the catch that locks it in place. Dreary silence, broken only by the hammer-like ticks of the old clock as Rose undresses and gets into bed. A puff, and the candle is out, its dying flare showing a wisp of smoke curling ceilingwards.
Rose, get up, ma chérie. It is 10 o'clock. I have the coffee and the rolls. Rose.
What is it, Madame Defarge?
There is something wrong. I know it. Rose, she does not answer me.
Or perhaps it is that she is tired and sleeps.
No, it is not that, mon Dieu, but I am afraid. Call these police quickly. Call them.
Police! Police! Come down!
Rose, answer me. speak to me. It is Suzanne Dufresne. Oh, what is the use? She is dead. I know it. Oh.
What is the trouble, madame?
Oh, my little Rose, she does not answer me.
Here, let me knock on the door. No answer. Better we break down the door, mon lieutenant.
You cannot break down that door without an axe.
Oh, Pierre. Yes, mon lieutenant. Bring an axe in case it is that we cannot break down the door.
At once, mon lieutenant. At once, everybody.
Now, Jacques, we will together throw our weight against the door. You ready? 1, 2, 3.
Because I said without the axe you can do nothing.
Here, mon lieutenant. This is the biggest axe in the cellar.
Give it here. Stand back.
There is a bolt at the top and another door at the bottom.
A little more down, Jacques. Ah, attendez. I shall reach the bolt. Sacré, and through the heart. Did not leave the knife, either. This was no knife. Grâce à Dieu, no. Damn it, a sword or something. Right through and 4 inches into the knife rest.
Oh, ma chérie, oh, she's dead. No.
Pierre, take madame out of the room.
Oui, mon lieutenant. Come, madame.
Send for Monsieur l'Inspecteur.
But yes, of a certainty.
This is very strange, my lieutenant. The window is locked on the inside. Impossible. Impossible, Lieutenant, it is. He or she could not have come in and gone out that way. It is 60 feet above the ground. Nothing to hang on to. No way to get in or out, and no mark on the window. The door, both the top and bottom. Whoever did it could have turned the key in the lock, but the bolts, no. One could not shoot the bolts after leaving the room. The chimney? Not that way either, mon lieutenant. It is, if anything, smaller than usual. You see, a tile chimney. Not even large enough for a cat. Nothing bigger than a bird could get through that chimney. But somebody somehow got in here, kill Rose, and get out again. Madame!
Yes, one would know.
Who came in here last night with Rose?
No one, not one single person.
You are certain?
Oh, but yes, Rose came home at 2 o'clock. She rang the bell. I myself opened the door. She drank some coffee in my room, and then she came upstairs. I watched her go.
No one could get into the house without passing your room?
No, impossible. Pierre looks over the house before 10 o'clock. Then at 10 the door is bolted, and no one can get inside after that without me, Madame Dufresne, seeing them.
Then whoever committed the murder must have got in before that and hidden in the house.
Oh, but he could not get out again. I have the key to the front door.
And anyway, that will not explain how he got into Rose's room. And it does not explain how he gets out again, bolting the bolts on the inside. Sacre bleu, but never before did I see anything like this. No queue, nothing. A bolted door, a locked window, 60 feet above the ground. Impossible to happen, but it does happen. Come, Jacques, we will go to the Sûreté, and Monsieur Lecour will work on this case.
But neither Monsieur Lecour nor any of the other brilliant minds of the French police could find any clue upon which to start an investigation. The apartment was searched, almost torn apart in an effort to find a trap door or secret passage. Nothing, nor the suggestion of anything. Always a bolted door, a locked window. 2 weeks later, Monsieur Lecour is seated in his office at the Sûreté talking to the lieutenant.
Bonjour, Monsieur Lecour.
Sit down, mon lieutenant.
Merci, monsieur.
No further development in the Jellicoe case?
Nothing, monsieur. I have combed the underworld of Paris, hoping for a chance where a single thing that one might call a clue.
Had she any enemies?
No, monsieur, not that I can find. No money. Nothing to be robbed of. Un pauvre demoiselle de boulevard. Not worthy of such hatred or such careful planning.
You had someone watching at the morgue when Rose Delacour was laid there?
Oui, monsieur. Nothing but the usual morbid crowd. No known underworld character. And besides that, everyone that I have picked up as a person as an alibi for that night.
You have no suspicion of Madame Dufresne?
No, monsieur. Besides, no woman struck that blow.
Granted. But she could have admitted the murder and let him out again.
That still does not account for the door bolted on the inside.
Mais oui, of course, mon lieutenant. Always we come to the door bolted on the inside.
Always, monsieur. Till my dying day, I shall find myself face to face with that stout oak door, bolted top and bottom. That leady glass window, locked on the inside. And Rose Delacour lying there staring unseen at the ceiling.
And today, almost half a century later, when the Paris police discuss the murder in the Rue Morgue, they come face to face with the same problem. The locked window, the door bolted top and bottom on the inside. Out of deference to people who are still alive, character names in these unsolved mysteries have been changed. Inasmuch as any solution must of necessity be supposition, liberties of time, place, and character exist in the solution that will be presented after you have heard from your sponsor.
gentlemen, the solution for which you have been waiting.
Tell me, Monsieur Lecoeur, have you no idea after all these years as to how the murder of Rose Delacour was perpetrated?
Oui, but yes, I think I have a possible solution.
Indeed?
You must understand, monsieur, that at the time of the murders in the Rue Morgue, the chimney sweep was a familiar figure on the rooftops and among the chimney pots of Paris.
Chimney sweep, monsieur?
Oui, the chimney sweep cleaned the chimneys of Paris by lowering a round brush on a piece of rope or a pole made of many pieces of wood fitted together.
I understand.
You understand, monsieur, that I have no idea who the murderer might be, but I think I know how he committed the crime. This murderer realized that a chimney sweep would hardly be noticed on the roof of Rose Delacour's apartment. I can see him donning his disguise, an old soot-grind suit, carrying his bag of paraphernalia, but hidden in that bag was a French bayonet. I can hear him as he creeps over the tiles, muttering to himself.
It is easy the way I have planned it. It cannot fail. I lower these two hooks on the two lengths of string. Now I lower the bayonet. Then I will go to Rose Delacour's room. I will hide under the bed. And when she is fast asleep, I kill her. In a few moments, I fix the hook to the door and the strings to the bolts. It is so simple. When I return to the roof, I pull the two strings, and voila, the bolts stay close. I pull the string and the hooks up the chimney. And yes, I must not forget. The third string, I pull him too, because on that, I have the bayonet. How they will puzzle over the mystery, these French police.
And puzzle they did, these French police, and with them the rest of the world. Edgar Allan Poe wrote his solution, but Poe was writing fiction, and so in order to give legitimate literary punch to his denouement, he ignored the fact that the chimney was too small for even the tiniest monkey, let alone an ape, to get through.